Hello, good evening, Shanti. Welcome.
Good evening.
Om Shanti. Good evening.
Good evening. Shanti.
Hope everyone is doing well, staying warm,
Okay,
safe. Yeah. It's great that the snow outside reminds us of something deep inside. Right? When it is snow outside, everything is covered with snow. It feels so spiritual. Right? So this week we have been focusing on, we heard on Sunday that we have to become experienced. Experienced in knowledge, experienced in meditation, in dharana, in seva, and also not to have it sometimes, but constantly. That was the main message on Sunday. And so the thought was that when we look deeper, we realize that our spiritual journey is all about being yourself. And says being yourself no matter what. So generally what happens is, we experience ourselves in meditation, right? We are soul conscious for some time, but then often when we are on the field of action, we often forget, right? And we get bogged down by the things that happen around us, within us. And so that's why it says, be yourself no matter what. It really means that, being yourself constantly. Right. Right. If we see that, what does God do? What does God do? God just stays himself. That's what he does. Right? We try to sometimes do a lot, accomplish a lot. But what generally happens is when we get lost in actions or when we get lost in the drama, we are not ourselves, right? So when we are not ourselves, it means we are someone else, right? So if I live someone else's life, what will I experience? Right? And so we say spirituality is just all about coming back to who we really are, to be ourselves. And the analogy we were thinking of is like, for example, it's like, suppose there is, sunny day outside, but I'm in the basement of my house with all the windows and doors closed. I won't experience the light, even though the light is there. It's not that the light is not there. The light is there, but I won't experience it because I have closed, right? So what I need to do really is to open the windows and the doors. So the effort really is in just opening up and being myself. So in the same way, the soul is there, the divine is there, it all exists. Right? It's just that we are closed in our thinking, in our vision, to just get locked in temporary identities. And when we open up to be ourselves, we can then easily experience the truth, right? And we can experience it constantly, not sometimes, and little bit, right? So let's try and explore a little bit deeper. How can we be ourselves no matter what? So this image just depicts like this little boy is, right? Even though there are storms and clouds, but he is just beyond and he's in his own blissful state. Right? So what it says is, says, be yourself. Everyone else is already taken. Be yourself. Everyone else is already taken. Right? So there is one of us, and we're all unique actors in this drama of life. So we can't compare, right? So what I can really do is just be myself. I don't have to look around or look at anybody else. I'm special, I'm unique in the way I exist in this drama. Each actor is unique, and I am also unique. Right? So all I have to do is just to be myself. Just like in a movie, everyone's role is unique. In the same way, it says every soul is unique, born to play a unique role. So to compare is to complain against your own uniqueness. Right? We're all unique, and we're all playing our roles. So this realization allows me to just focus on myself and not to get lost in other things. And if we see whatever situations come or, problems come in any, for example, relationships or, even something that happened in the past or future, what it really does inside is it uh, somewhere doesn't allow me to stay rooted to my speciality, to my uniqueness. And the mind then will get disturbed. And that's where I can't then be myself. So when I just stay rooted in my uniqueness, in my value, then I can be myself. Right? So it says being yourself doesn't mean you stop making yourself better. It's doing so without comparing your journey to others. So I am myself doesn't mean that I'm not becoming better. Of course, I am becoming better. So it's not to become complacent, but it's about not comparing my journey with the journey of others. Because every journey is unique. Like in a garden, every flower is unique, whether it is small or big or, colorful or plain. And so when I realize this, then I can just be myself. Right? I don't have to be somebody else. And this one says, a quote by Einstein, he says, every human being is gifted with unique specialities, virtues, and attainments. Focusing on others' specialities can lead to jealousy. Focus on your specialities. Everybody is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is too. Right? So the more I can see the uniqueness in everything, in everyone, then I can actually be myself. And actually be myself. So there's a little clip, and let us watch it, and then we'll continue further.
Let me speak to that person that feels like they lost their worth and their value.
Mhm. Did we understand this video? So what it's really saying is, even if, we may have gone through our own journey, even if we may have made mistakes, or even if we feel down, right? Or even if the world hasn't been fair to us, right? But we don't lose our value. And and that value is the value that who recognizes that value? God, the divine, right? And so that's why when God says, just see yourself through my eyes, it really means that the value that the God sees me with, let me just see myself with that value. Then I can be myself. So just like in this, clip, this person was saying, whatever may have happened to the dollar bill, but its value is still a dollar. So in the same way, whatever may have happened with me in my life through many, many, right, lifetimes, but my value is still there. Of course, I need to make effort to, you know, to return to my original state of being, but my value is still there. And so being yourself means just focusing on that value that always there, it's always there in God's eyes. And that's what God is reminding us every day, right? Right. Mhm. So there is this quote. It says, life is simple, just be yourself. Life is simple, just be yourself. And who is very who are experts at being themselves? Yes. Mhm.
Children?
Children.
Yes, children. Yeah. Children are just themselves, right? And that's why whatever they do, we are all so, attracted to kids, right? Even a little gesture they will make, we all adore it. Why? Because they are just being themselves. They're not influenced by whatever is happening around them. Whatever they feel, they say, or they do, or they're not influenced. They are just themselves. And that's why life is so simple and enjoyable for them. Right? I was talking to, my niece the other day, a couple of days back, and I told her that we had a big storm and there is more than a feet of snow outside. And she said, "Oh, did you go and play outside?" I said, "No, it's very cold." She said, "How cold?" I said, -20 degrees C. She said, "Oh, wear a sweater and go." I said, "No, I can't. It's very cold." "Okay, wear 5 sweaters and go." I was just amazed because that's how they see life. Like I'm here thinking, how will I get to work? And, how will I clean my driveway and things like that. But that's how kids think. For them, life is simple and they enjoy everything. They don't care about, the complexities because they're just being themselves, right? Mhm. 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 This one says you don't have to be perfect, just be yourself, right? Don't have to be perfect. So even in the spiritual journey, right, God doesn't want us to be perfect, just wants us to be ourselves. And that's the task that God does, is to remind us of ourselves. We had forgotten. We didn't even know. We lost track, right, through the journey of life. But God is reminding us just to be ourselves, who we really are, right? Mm. So don't need to be perfect. We just need to be ourselves, the way we are, that unique one, that unique piece of God's creation. And every soul is unique. All the 8.5 billion souls on this earth, everyone is unique. Everyone is special. Right? Says, do not try to be different, just try to be yourself. Right? Sometimes we try to be different, right? Try to do things sometimes to even please others. It says, no, don't try to be different, just try to be yourself. There have been some studies where, people, even when they give job interviews, they, they are graded not on the basis of how smartly they answered, but how confident they, which means how much they were sure of what they were saying, right? Which means how much they were, sure of being themselves, because that's more important than trying to impress somebody, right? So if I don't know something, I can say, oh, I didn't understand. Can you please repeat, right? Mhm. So it's important to be myself rather than trying to be different or trying to prove something. And what does it say? It says, if you don't like a product, you can choose another. If you don't like a person, you can walk away. If you don't like what you see, you can close your eyes. If you don't like where you are, you can go elsewhere. But if you don't like who you are, then there is a problem. Right? I like this one quote. It said, right? So I can change everything externally, but if you don't like who you are, then there is a problem. So just love yourself, just be yourself, and that's what is the essence of life, right? So external, whatever is happening is really not a problem because I can always change. But I just need to be in love with the self, right? Unconditionally. The way I am, the way God sees me, right? In that way. So it says, take off your mask, your face is glorious. Take off your mask, your face is glorious. Right? We try to generally hide ourselves behind a mask. And the mask could be the character, the opinions, or some, whatever, because that's where we feel comfortable. But it's all about taking off that mask. And when I take off that mask, then I can be myself. Right? So how do I be myself? It's just very simple. I just take off the mask. Right? And we have a lot of masks, right, that we carry, right, during the day, during our lifetime. And so the more I just pay attention to removing a mask, just being myself. Right? Cha says we all have a to-do list. So the main thing in to-do list is just be yourself. Just be yourself. Because sometimes we don't prioritize this. We have a long to-do list. I have to do this, 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 this. But if I'm not myself, and if I'm doing, then what happens is I can get an effect of the actions that I performed. And then that will become an obstacle in my being myself. Somewhere that becomes a bandhan, bondage. We are listening to those points, right? Karam bandhan, jivan bandh, or jivan mukt, right? So it really means when I'm myself and I just pay attention to this before I start anything, just be myself. And then just do naturally. Then it is natural. Right? Then it is not a force. It is very natural. So we'll listen to a story, and story is about a donkey, and we'll see what we can learn from that story.
Once upon a time, in a small, peaceful village, nestled between green meadows and tall, whispering forests, there lived a donkey named Danny. Danny was not like the noble horses or the clever dogs. He was clumsy, had floppy ears, and his loud hee-haw often startled birds from trees. He worked for a kind farmer who treated him well. Every morning, Danny helped carry baskets of vegetables to the market and pulled wagons filled with hay. But despite his hard work, many of the other animals and even some children in the village laughed at him. "Look at those ears," they'd chuckle. "Listen to that silly bray." Danny would lower his head sadly and wonder, "Why can't I be more graceful or feared like a lion? No one laughs at a lion." One sunny afternoon, as Danny was grazing near the forest's edge, he spotted something unusual near an old tree stump. Curious, he trotted closer and saw a lion's skin, probably left behind by hunters long ago. It was dusty and a little torn, but still looked fierce. An idea suddenly sparkled in Danny's mind. What if I wear this lion's skin? Then no one will laugh. They'll be afraid, or maybe even respect me. Carefully, Danny wriggled into the skin. It took a while, and he got tangled a few times. But eventually, the lion's head sat over his own, and the fur draped down to his hooves. He looked at his reflection in a nearby pond. From a distance, he truly looked like a lion. Excited and a little nervous, Danny walked toward the village. As he entered, the reaction was instant. People screamed, dogs barked, chickens flapped into the air, and children ran indoors. "A lion! A lion has come from the forest!" one woman cried. The blacksmith dropped his hammer. The baker dove behind his cart. Even the farmer's cows stampeded in fear. Danny was thrilled. He strutted proudly through the village square, watching everyone scatter. For once, no one was laughing. They were in awe, or so he thought. Then he saw a cart filled with bright orange carrots and crisp green cabbages. His mouth watered. Forgetting his disguise, Danny raced over and began chomping loudly on the vegetables. And then he let out a loud, happy hee-haw. The entire village went silent. The miller, peeking through his window, blinked. Did that lion just say, hee-haw? Little by little, villagers came out from hiding, puzzled. "It's not a lion. It's Danny the donkey in a costume," a boy shouted. Everyone burst out laughing. Danny froze. He realized his mistake too late. The lion's skin was slipping off his back, and now everyone could see the truth. His farmer walked over, gently removing the disguise. "Danny, why would you do this?" he asked softly. "I was tired of being laughed at," Danny said sadly. "I thought if I were a lion, people would respect me." The farmer patted Danny's head. "You don't need to pretend to be something else. You are strong, loyal, and helpful, everything I could ever want in a friend." From that day on, Danny never wore the lion's skin again. He accepted himself and took pride in his work. The villagers stopped teasing him too. They remembered how useful and brave he really was. And though he still brayed loudly and had big ears, Danny finally stood tall. As the best donkey in the village. Moral of the story: Pretending to be someone else might bring attention, but being true to yourself brings real respect. Always be proud of who you are.
Hmm. Simple story. It just tells us that we should always be ourselves, right? And to be proud. And that's what, when we have, it's like we will have respect for the self. And that's what it's called in Hindi, Swaman. Swaman means to respect the self the way I am, right? And then when I respect myself, then I can also respect others, right? So just the moral is not to wear any mask, like not to pretend to be somebody else, but just to be myself. Mhm. There is this another quote. It says, waking up to who you are requires letting go of who you imagine yourself to be. Right. Waking up to who you are requires letting go of who you imagine yourself to be. Right. Just like he was, when he removed the skin was removed, then he could be himself. So that's what we are actually. We are souls, but we are wearing this skin. Mhm. And when we let go of what we've imagined ourselves to be, then we can just wake up to who we are. Mhm. Right? So it's like waking up. Mhm. And this is the journey, it's a beautiful journey of just waking up to who we really are. Right? Mhm. Mhm. There is uh, a nice poem by Mother Teresa. We may have um, gone through it before. I thought it will be good um, kind of addition to today's discussion. And she says, so it's the poem called Final Analysis. She says, people are often unreasonable, illogical, and self centered. Forgive them anyway. If you are kind, people may accuse you of selfish, ulterior motives. Be kind anyway. If you are successful, you will win some false friends and some true friends. Succeed anyway. If you're honest and frank, people may cheat you. Be honest and frank anyway. What you spend years building, someone could destroy overnight. Build anyway. If you find serenity and happiness, they may be jealous. Be happy anyway. The good you do today, people will often forget tomorrow. Do good anyway. Give the world your best anyway. You see, in the final analysis, it is between you and God. It was never between you and them anyway. Mhm. So it says, no matter what happens, you just be yourself. You just be true to who you are, be true to your values. Mhm. Because that's always, right, a test. Whenever a situation comes, the test really is, can I be true to my values, who I am? Mhm. And when I remember that, in the final analysis, it's just between me and God, not anything else, anyone else. And that will give me the strength to be me. So when I keep just the one in my consciousness, it's just me and the one, the divine. Mhm. So in the final analysis, that's what really matters. Mhm. Everything else is secondary, right? Mhm. 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 There is Another quote, it says, "You change the world by being yourself." Change the world by being yourself. That was very powerful a slogan, right? So when I am myself, I'm automatically helping towards changing the world. So I don't need to do a lot to change the world. I just need to be myself, because that's what the world needs the most. The vibrations of just being myself, right? There is there are a few uh, reflections and just change some other thoughts. So one, it says, God's love makes us be ourselves. When we are really in love with the one, with God, that allows us to be ourselves. Right? It's like, it's like love that the soul experiences through the drama. It will make dependent, right? But the love that the soul experiences from God will make the soul independent, to be itself. Every soul is a unique actor in this drama of life. So the more I realize this, right, every soul is a unique actor, and everyone is special. Says, only when I am myself can I experience God's love. So God's love allows me to be myself, but also the reverse is, when I am myself, then actually I'm allowing myself to experience God's love. It says, keep a safe distance from drama. When we drive, we always keep a distance between the other car. So keep a safe distance means I'm playing my part, but not to intellectually get too much involved in drama, just to keep a little distance. That will allow me to be myself. Right? It says, in any situation, first be yourself and then do. Otherwise, actions can influence the consciousness and create a bondage. So first be, then do. So generally what happens is, when we forget to be ourselves, then we try and do, and then we feel heavy. So that creates a bondage. Be yourself, it makes you secure. So when I am myself, I can be secure. Right? Otherwise, I feel insecure. And only when I am secure, I can be at my best. Don't think about what others say or what is happening in the outer world. Make your inner world your priority. Right? Don't think about what others say or what is happening in the outer world. Make your inner world your priority. Right? Because on the journey of life, that's what sometimes our attention will go outside. Right? I have to do this, this has to happen, and things. But the priority has to be my inner world. Right? There's another little story, and that story is also involves a donkey. So let's see what we can learn from it.
Once upon a time, there lived a father and son in a village. One day, they decided to travel to a faraway land with their donkey. They packed their belongings and set off on their journey. The journey was long. They had to cross many towns, hills, and deserts to reach their destination. So, father let his son ride the donkey while he walked beside them. When they reached the first town, the people there stared at them and whispered. One of them said loudly, "How rude and disrespectful that young man is. He is sitting on the donkey while his old father is walking in the sun. He should let his old father ride the donkey." The father and son heard this and felt embarrassed. The boy got off the donkey and asked his father to ride the donkey while he walked along them. When they reached the second town, the people there also looked at them and talked. One of them said loudly, "How selfish and irresponsible that father is. He is enjoying the ride while his son walks in the heat." Parents always try to give comfort to their children, even if they suffer. But this father is comforting himself by giving pain to his child. The father and son heard this and felt again embarrassed. After going some distance, father got off the donkey and they both started walking with donkey. When they reached the third town, the people there laughed at them and mocked. One of them said loudly, "How foolish these travelers are. They have a donkey, but they don't use it. Then what's the point of having a donkey if they don't ride it?" The father and son heard this and felt stupid again. After going some distance, they decided to both ride the donkey. So they both sat on donkey and started riding it. When they reached the fourth town, the people there saw them and started taunting them. One of them said loudly, "How cruel and abusive these riders are. They both burden the poor donkey with their weight. They should spare the donkey some mercy and get off it." The father and son heard this and felt sorry for the donkey. They both got off the donkey. Now, the only option left to them was to carry the donkey on their back. But that would have been even more awkward. After going some distance, they saw a monk sitting under a tree on the outskirts of the village. The father and son greeted the monk and told him their story. They explained how they had tried to please everyone they met on their way, but they only ended up being criticized and ridiculed. The monk listened to them patiently and then laughed. Then he said, "My friends, don't bother what people say. It is people's nature to keep criticizing everything. They will always find something to complain about, no matter what you do. If you listen to them, you will never be happy or satisfied. Therefore, don't bother what people say and do only what you want to do. Do what you think is right and good for you. Follow your own heart and mind, not the opinions of others. That's the only way to live a true and meaningful life." If we see in our lives, we will find that life always shows us the deep truth that we can't make everyone happy. The story of the father and son and their donkey proved this fact very well. When they traveled, they tried to do what everyone said. But every time they tried to please people, they got new complaints, which shows that people often say things without seeing the whole picture or being fair. The way to live honestly and happily is not to change ourselves for others, but to be loyal to our own beliefs. Changing ourselves all the time to fit in with others makes us tired and sad, and we forget who we are. The father and son story ended with the monk's advice, which reminds us of an old truth that if we try to make everyone happy, we will lose ourselves. Being true to ourselves and following our own way is the key. No matter what you do, people will always keep talking and criticizing you. And if we try to act based on what they say, we will never be satisfied. We should do what feels right to us, not what is popular or expected. We should remember that when people criticize us, It means that we are growing and doing something different. Therefore, always remember that you cannot please everyone. No matter what choices you make, there will always be someone who disagrees with you or finds fault in you. But instead of trying to meet everyone's expectations, focus on what you believe is right and follow your own path. Because listening to your heart and staying true to yourself leads to a more genuine and fulfilling life.
Story we just learned how to be ourselves, right? Not to pay attention to what others are saying or doing, right? We'll just end with another little reflection, and this one says, so this is the slogan. It says, I have not done anything, I don't have to do anything. Which means, we listen to this word, right? Karan Karavan Har. Which really means that I'm not doing anything. So if we understand it in these two lines, I have not done anything and I don't have to do anything. Means I'm removing the word I, right? So I don't have to do anything. So that will allow me to be myself. Otherwise, I can get carried away in actions. Right? So in India it says Savdhani Hati Durghatna Ghati, which means the moment I lose this awareness and I stop paying attention to the self, then Durghatna Ghati, then there can be an accident, right? An emotional something. And Baba says, forget the old world. That also allows me to be myself, just forget everything. And the ones I just forget, I can be myself. Dadi used to say, don't think, just be. So, because when I start thinking, then I can't be. So just stop thinking and just be. It says, take time out to do nothing. Right? So during the day, when I take time out to do nothing, just be. Because that's what generally we don't do, right? We pack our schedules and calendars. But when I just take time out to do nothing, I can be myself. It's like giving an oxygen to myself. And what does God do? He just stays himself. It says three main forces: soul, God, and Rama. When I stay as a soul, Baba and Rama become my protection. So when I stay myself as a soul, then God and Rama, they become my protection. Then I don't have to do much, but things will automatically happen. Acha. Om Shanti. Thank you, Baba. Thank you, family. Let's take a moment to just go within, taking our attention away from everything outside to the world inside. We are unique, we are special, we are valuable, unique actors in this play of life. God knows our value, and by remembering that, we feel ourselves. We don't compare ourselves to anyone. Our journey is unique. With our imperfections, we accept and love ourselves. We take off the masks, the external roles, and we are comfortable in being who we are. We pay attention to only following our heart, mind, to following the path of truth. And everything else gets taken care of by itself. I simply be myself, no matter what. Om Shanti. Shanti, thank you for joining. Maybe we'll open up if anyone would like to share any thoughts. Those online, if anyone would like to share, please feel free to.
Beautiful
Om Shanti.
session. Just be what you are. Baba likes you, so you don't need to change anything. Just be what you are. Thank you, Om Shanti.
Thank you. Thank you.
Om Shanti, Saurabhai.
Om Shanti.
Thank you, Saurabhai. Beautiful class, and
Thank you.
I really liked Mother Teresa. The quote that it's anyways between us and the divine, and gives the right perspective. And I also thought, how we have to remind ourselves, like all the layers. Once the layers come out, and all the labels that we have, then we get to truly, who we are. So thank you. And I was thinking the story of the donkey. There's the movie song also, Kuch To Log Kahenge. So I was just thinking that
Right.
we always will have something, right? Somebody will have something. So very,
True.
very. Yeah. Thank you, Saurabhai. Very beautiful
Thank you.
class.
Thank you, Simanbhai.
Om Shanti, Saurabhai. Yeah. See you this weekend.
See you this weekend. Yeah. Cha, any other thoughts?
Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.
Again, beautiful Thursday session. As Simran Bhai said, the donkey story was really beautiful, and I liked it, and the complete session. Thank you, Saurabh Bhai. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Sanjay. Om Shanti. Any other thoughts? Sure. We have angels here. Sure.
This one question. I also like the mother Teresa quote. Like it's between me and Baba, that's it. So जो भी कर्म करते हैं तो कॉन्शियस होकर करने स्मॉल कॉन्शियसनेस में होकर तो बाबा और ब्रह्मा हमेशा साथ रहेंगे. And donkey की स्टोरी भी बहुत अच्छी लगी. Like मतलब people can criticize you, judge you, whatever you are doing. So again, it's between you and Baba. So do whatever Baba की श्रीमत and जो आपको सही लगता है. और हर आत्मा यूनिक है, बाबा के दिल का टुकड़ा है. उनके बिना बाबा का हार्ट भी कंप्लीट नहीं होता है. लाइक एक्सरसाइज से हम किया. So thank you for Shanti, so great. Thank you so much for class. I think my takeaways for today are take off your mask. That's an important one, I think, for myself. I like the one that said to-do list has to be just be yourself. Something I need to prioritize for myself. And you don't have to be perfect, you just have to be yourself. So that was a good quote. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Shanti.
Shanti. Any final thoughts? Anyone would like to add? Sure. So thank you and have a good rest of the evening. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. Thank you.
Shanti.
Thank you, Saurabh Bhai. Om Shanti. Thank you.
Shanti.
Saurabh Bhai.
Thank you. Thank you.
Santi, thank you, Vaji.
Thank you.